Welcome to Dairy Delivery by the Dairy Star. On today's episode, we catch up with former Wisconsin State FFA President Collin Weltzien. Next, we talk to the NASCAR Chicago Street Race President Julie Giese about her upbringing on a Wisconsin dairy farm. Our third conversation features Abe Hartung as we talk to him about his return to the family farm in St. Anthony, Minnesota. We wrap up with a couple dairy farm kids making noise at state wrestling tournaments in Wisconsin and Minnesota. Erika Sleznikow of Marshfield, Wisconsin won the girls' state championship. The Fear Cousins team up to help Minneota High in Minnesota return to the state tournament for the first time since 2016. You are listening to Dairy Delivery, all dairy, all the time.
This episode is brought to you by DRMS. DRMS is excited to launch the Fresh Cow Index, a new metric within the Herd HQ platform. FCI is featured in the Fresh Focus Transition Cow reports inside Dairy Depot and will be available in DART in the future. FCI combines 25 individual cow variables from DHI test day data and CDCB genetic evaluations into a single, easy-to-understand score for evaluating transition cow performance. A score of 100 indicates expected performance. Cows above 100 are outperforming predictions, while those below 100 are more likely to underperform and face early culling risk. Producers and consultants can use FCI to evaluate month-over-month changes in feeding and management, understand herd-level transition success, and drill down into Cow Compass for detailed cow-level insights. Herd HQ. See what's happening in your herd. Learn more at drms.org/herdhq/what-is-herdhq.
I'm Michelle Spangler.
And I'm Dan Walker, and we're your reporters with the Dairy Star, bringing you the latest in the dairy industry, including hearing from farmers from across the Midwest and beyond. Well, Michelle, we have a little bit of sad news when it comes to the Dairy Star. One of our writers in Southeast Minnesota, Amy Kylo, is going to be moving on to the next chapter in life, so we're not going to be able to hear from her as much anymore.
Yeah, she's famous in our eyes and perhaps some of our readers too, but we're certainly excited for her. But in one of our sections, Dairy Pride section, we feature those people.
Yeah, it's been a new addition. Obviously, if you listened last week, you heard our interview with Mark Tauscher and his upbringing on a dairy farm. And this issue, we're going to be interviewing and talking with Julie Giese, the president of NASCAR Chicago. And it's just really cool to hear from those people who have gone on and had noteworthy careers. And I know it's doing an interview for the one in the next issue of it is just getting to hear their background on it and getting to hear how similar it is for everybody who's grown up on a dairy farm. I know you and I included in that, as hearing that upbringing for them and us being able to tie it into that work ethic that they learned about, that we learned about, and that what our listeners can understand too.
Yeah, the amount of people that we run into that grew up on dairy farms or have some kind of connection reminds us that we all have different upbringings, and if you didn't grow up on a farm, there's still that connection of wanting to be part of the dairy community, I feel. And so always so special to see our stories of how wherever we go in life, how it kind of comes back to the upbringing of growing up on a dairy farm. But another thing here, Dan, is the World Baseball Classic, the Cow Edition. Tell me more.
Yeah, so right now the World Baseball Classic is going on. There's 20 countries from all over the world that are teaming up, or not teaming up, but taking on each other. So major league players taking a break from spring training. So I know it's a fun competition that I've been getting into, obviously, because I'm a big baseball fan. I don't know if you've been following it as much, but I have some trivia here for you. So there's 20 teams competing in the World Baseball Classic. I don't want to list all of them, but, and you might know this just even without it being baseball related, what country has the most cows, not just dairy, most cows, what country has the highest cow population in the world?
Wow, I have no idea. I don't even know where to start.
I'll give you the Southern Hemisphere.
I don't know. Maybe Brazil, but Brazil isn't
Yes!
even. Oh,
You got it.
Wow.
So 238 million head of cattle in Brazil. They are also competing in the World Baseball Classic. However, I think they went 0-4 and didn't make it out of the group stage. But they kind of are kicking our butt in terms of total cows, because we only have, it's still a lot of cows. We have 87.2 million head of cattle in the United States. Now, get it more dairy-centric, obviously, because that's more our angle. What country do you think has the most dairy cattle population, highest dairy cattle population?
Again, I'm trying to think, but no
No.
idea. I
All right, I'll
think
give you a hemisphere. It's Northern Hemisphere this time.
is it the United States?
It is! Look at you, 2 for 2.
Look at this.
Perfect. Another one of those things that's just fun that everybody in the country can kind of put their hat on and band together and cheer for if you're a fan of baseball.
Well, we can always count on you, Dan, to give us a little sports knowledge and connect it back to the dairy industry. So thanks for sharing that a little bit more. It's definitely a season for sports as a opening day kicks off here soon for baseball and some spring sports. So if you ever have story ideas, listeners, about sports and their connection to dairy, feel free to let us know. But let's get into today's episode.
Our first story today takes us to Arcadia, Wisconsin. I had the chance to speak with Collin Weltzien, the 2019-2020 president of Wisconsin FFA. Weltzien also recently spoke at Ag Day at the Capitol and talks about how he wants to continue to lead young farmers who are returning to work on his family farm.
Collin, you're a 2021 graduate of UW River Falls, former state FFA officer, and you recently came back to your family farm. What's it been like returning home?
Everything I dreamed of and more. It's been a really rewarding lifestyle so far. It's hard to believe I've been back 5 years already, but it's definitely had its challenges and ups and downs, obviously, with the markets that we play with. But overall, I definitely love coming to work every day with my family, and I can't see myself doing anything else.
That's awesome. And you've seen Weltzien Farms has been run by your dad and uncles, and it's your fourth generation farm now. But what's it been like teaming up with family, and how have you guys found your roles within the farm?
We definitely seem to work together really well. We definitely complement each other with our strengths and weaknesses, and seem to kind of each have our own specialties on the farm. I'm more of a cow guy, and my brother's more of the mechanic fieldwork guy, and Dad's kind of the overall manager, I guess you might say. But we definitely collaborate on all major decisions and trying to break up and divvy up the day-to-day work to make life easier for everyone else. So I'd say definitely a pretty well-functioning team, and together with our 2 employees, we get a lot done. So
Always important. You're also a member of the Buffalo County's Young Farmer Program, part of their Farm Bureau. What have you learned as part of this program, and what do you hope to inspire?
My time as Farm Bureau member has kind of helped remind me that there's a lot of people out there that are going through the same things you are, or have the same passion for agriculture that you have. You know, you're reading the news and how many farms are losing and how few farmers there are left. But when you go to a Farm Bureau meeting and you're reminded of all of your neighbors that are still farming and the other young farmers that like you that are out there trying to make it go, I find that really inspiring and refreshing. And I love talking with them and learning from them and finding new ideas and things to improve on that I can bring back home to our operation.
How important is it to build that community? You and I were just kind of talking about that too. It's one thing to be able to go home and talk to your wife about it, but it's another thing to be able to go home and have, other farmers that are in it kind of day to day with you. Not saying your wife's not in it day to day with you, but you know what I mean, with having other people who are in there with you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, having someone to be a support system like that and to bounce ideas off of and to sort of vent, I think that's crucial. I mean, it's tough to explain a lot of the things that happen on a farm and day-to-day farm life, and unless you've lived it, unless you've experienced it. So having somebody that's going through that same stuff with you that you can bounce ideas off of, and that can be very important to deal with the highs of farming and the lows of farming. The $14 milk, having somebody to keep pushing you on is very important.
For sure. And say part of coming back and farming with your family, that's always a challenge. There's also some rewarding parts to it. What do you enjoy most about farming with your family?
I'd say getting to laugh with your family. So many different things happen out on the farm. A lot of times they're not the good things that you spend enough time celebrating, but they're the challenges you face or the things that go bad or the bad days that everybody's hot the day of, but a few days later you're laughing about them. A few years later you're laughing about them. So I think that's probably the coolest part about farming, is that shared experience in the end brings everyone together, even though at the time it may not.
Yeah, I'd say those are always the stories that get brought up 5-10 years later that are 10 times funnier than the situation was before, because it probably wasn't very funny at the time
at all. No.
And like we said, this is about the 100th year that this farm has been going on. What do you kind of got for future plans and maybe for your leadership positions as well?
In terms of on the farm, nothing too major, I guess. Kind of keep things going, business as usual, making small improvements and keep getting more efficient and better as we can. And then outside the farm, just continue to grow my leadership skills and experience, and continue to try to get involved wherever I'm needed, and continue to hone my skills so that as I progress into my career and I'm called to take on more leadership positions in agriculture organizations, that I'm ready to take the call and lead with everything I got.
That's awesome. And why is that important to you? We kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier of like being a young farmer and being somebody who can be, seen by other people as somebody's kind of not breaking into the industry, but a young farmer who's establishing themselves here. What do you hope that kind of serves for other people?
I think it's important to show other people in my generation that it still can be done. I mean, yes, you got to be lucky, you got to be fortunate. So many things got to go right. But at the end of the day, it still is a choice that you got to make and you got to commit to, and that can be really scary, but it is an extremely rewarding lifestyle. And I think it's important to show other people that it is possible. I mean, I went to college. I could have went and did all these other things, but something called me back home to the farm, and here I am back home on the farm with my family and in my community. And I think moving forward, that's going to be very important for the future of rural America, is trying to get as many people as we can to do just that.
This episode is brought to you by DRMS. DRMS is excited to launch the Fresh Cow Index, or FCI, a new metric within the Herd HQ platform. Featured in Fresh Focus reports inside Dairy Depot, FCI combines 25 cow-level variables from DHI test day data and CDCB genetic evaluations into one score to evaluate transition cow performance. A score of 100 means cows performed as expected, while lower scores can signal added risk early in lactation. Herd HQ. See what's happening in your herd. Learn more at drms.org/herd-HQ/what-is-herd-HQ.
Read about Weltzien's leadership and coming back home under the headline Leading the Next Generation on dairystar.com. I am well familiar with Collin Weltzien. We served on that leadership team together, so it's always cool of how he's inspiring the next generation. Our next story today, here's a conversation between our Northern Wisconsin reporter Danielle Nauman speak with Julie Giese for our Dairy Pride section. Giese grew up on a dairy farm near Edgar, Wisconsin. She is now the NASCAR Chicago Street Race President. She traces that success of her NASCAR career back to her roots on our family dairy farm.
Start out by telling me a little bit about what exactly you do and about Chicago Street Race and that.
Yeah, so my role, I'm the president of NASCAR Chicago. So my role the last 3 years has been overseeing the street race that we run in downtown Chicago around Grant Park. It's the first street race in NASCAR's 75 plus year history. Our first year was 2023, and I'm responsible for the P&L, but also then just all the community aspects, the operations, the promotion, sponsorship, marketing, all of the things that come along with a major motorsports event like that. This being the first time that we ever did anything like this, it was also the first time for the city of Chicago to do anything like this. A lot of my job, especially the first year, was community relations and building relationships with residents, businesses, civic leaders, different organizations to help them understand what it was we were going to be doing, knowing that we were really racing on a permanent course. So it's I've got an office and a team here in downtown Chicago. I moved here from Phoenix, and yeah, it's been a wild ride for sure, but a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, and especially I imagine like being involved in the inception of something new and that kind of thing, that must have been, somewhat daunting, but, kind of exhilarating, I would imagine.
Yeah, it was. And that was a big reason for me. Prior to being here in Chicago, I was in Phoenix as the president of Phoenix Raceway, which is our racetrack out there. And we hosted the NASCAR championship. And honestly, I loved living out there. I loved the property. But when the Chicago opportunity came about, it was intriguing for me to be able to be part of something that had never been done before.
Yeah.
And also then get closer to home, a car ride away. And it's crazy how all that works out, because I'm so grateful I was here when Wayne and Smith had the barn fire. And
Yeah.
I was able to, like, my mom called that day and told me what was going on, and I was able to just hop in the car and get home and not have to worry about, like, I would have been in Phoenix. It would have been challenging to get home as quickly as I was. So everything happens for a reason. So it worked out.
Yeah. And so you started in Chicago, and how far? You said the first street race was 2023. When did you go to Chicago?
I moved in December of 2022. So we had 8 months to bring it to life. Yes. We announced that we were going to run the race in July of 2022, but we really didn't mobilize on the ground. We opened our office in November, and I officially moved here in December. And then we were racing the first weekend in July.
Wow. That's
a very quick turn.
Yeah, that had to be a little stressful.
A little bit, yeah.
You know, besides the personal, just acclimating to a new city and a new, you know, and then, you know, baptism by fire.
Yes, and that first year, like, if you Google, you'll see the first year was challenging. The city, the residents, like, everyone was concerned on, because it had never been done before.
Yeah.
What is this? Are cars going to hit buildings? How loud is it going to be? Is this safe? And how does this benefit the city? We're running around Grant Park, which is beautiful front door for the city. And so there was a lot of questions, a lot of concern, honestly.
Yeah.
So that's why, especially that first year, community relations was such a big part of my job, in addition to the operations and logistics.
And all you could really do is just say, trust me.
Right. I had nothing. It was me. I was a one-man band, and I had a video, a virtual model of what this could look like. And that was it. Because, again, it's not like we could shut down the streets and, like, do a practice run and show everybody, because shutting down the streets was a point of contention and concern.
Yeah.
I mean, we're closing DuSable Lakeshore Drive and Michigan Avenue. It had never been done before for as long of, like, for successive days.
Yeah.
Or consecutive days, yeah.
So then, I guess, going back, then, tell me about growing up on your family's farm in Edgar. What did that look like for you?
So that is, as anyone that grew up on a farm, it was a lot of work. My parents, and then my brother and I. And so I remember, like, my parents, especially, we didn't live super close to town.
Mm-hmm.
And so after school activities and all that, like, my parents were great about wanting us to participate, but also had to work around the farm schedule, chores. And it was just my mom and dad that were doing the farming. My grandparents were on the farm previously, so they would help out here and there. But, it was my brother and I. My job was always in charge of the calves. So making sure they were fed, get home from school and have to do the chores, have dinner and do homework, and then go to bed. But it was, I think anyone that grew up on a farm would tell you it wasn't, like, fun at the time. But now that I look back at it, I'm like, thank goodness I did. I've talked to my parents about it. I mean, you learn so much that you don't even realize until you're not on the farm every day, and the value of hard work. And I think the thing that I've learned especially is, like, when you don't get a day off. My family has never taken a family vacation. My brother is very much like my dad on where, we got to take care of the cows, and that's the priority. So we never went on family vacations. My grandma would take us to Wapaka, to the water slides on a weekend in the summer, which was always fun. But, you don't get the days off. If you're sick, you still got to go milk the cows and feed them and do chores. And I think the other thing, especially, that I think about a lot now is just problem solving. Something breaks, like, you got to figure out how to fix it. And you're running a whole business, so things are always going to go wrong, or things are going to need to be fixed, or weather's going to impact you, and you just have to figure it out.
This episode is brought to you by DRMS. DRMS is excited to launch the Fresh Cow Index, or FCI, a new metric within the Herd HQ platform. Featured in Fresh Focus reports inside Dairy Depot, FCI combines 25 cow-level variables from DHI test day data and CDCB genetic evaluations into one score to evaluate transition cow performance. A score of 100 means cows performed as expected, while lower scores can signal added risk early in lactation. Herd HQ. See what's happening in your herd. Learn more at drms.org/herdhq/what-is-herdhq. Read about Julie's career at NASCAR under the headline Bringing a Vision to Life on dairystar.com. Our third story today takes us to St. Anthony, Minnesota. Mark Klophocky sat down with Abe Hartung. Hartung was following his parents' guidance, working an off-farm job. But when an opportunity to come back to the farm full-time arrived, Abe knew he couldn't pass it up and returned to the family farm.
Abe, just talk about that transition to coming back home to help mom and dad.
So 3 years ago, when I was in high school, we had the rule that we had to be off the farm for 1 year. And after a couple months of being off the farm and stuff, we had the opportunity because we were a little bit short on help and we needed more labor around the farm. And Dad was looking for somebody to help on the farm and stuff. And we had a friend that volunteered for the position. And instead of them, taking them on, I offered that I would come back instead. And it's one of the best things I've ever done. I absolutely love being on the farm from the day to day because it's so different every single day, whether we're working in the shop or milking cows. And the nice thing is, at the end of the day, we always have the consistency of milking cows. That's one thing that's so special about the dairy industry is every morning and night the cows are there. So if you're having the best day ever or the worst day ever, the cows will still be there, for your consistency.
And you farm with your dad and mom, Randy and Amanda. How many cows you milk? And talk a little bit about your farm.
So right now we're milking 130 cows. We have a 70 cow tie stall barn, and then we have 77 cows in the freestall barn, but a section of it is for fresh heifers or pre-fresh heifers. So the way we do it right now is we bring heifers in before they freshen so that they get used to the freestall barn and switching and everything. And then this way, once they freshen, they take off a lot quicker. So we are currently switching about 60 cows, and we have 70 cows that fit in the tie stall. So the units never really stop. We continue to milk the last 10 cows while switching out the barn.
And the freestall barn kind of came with a kind of a tie to you because when you said, I want to come back and help, mom and dad said, well, we probably need to have a little more income and things for you too.
Yes, it was, and that was it opened up a lot of opportunities. It increased our efficiency significantly in, many different ways. One of them being now we buy soybean meal by the semi-load, and, you can do a couple different things. You gain some efficiencies, and it's, now hopefully in the future, I'm getting married this fall and hopefully can keep going with,
Talk a little bit about your relationship with your mom and dad and how you kind of blend your new ideas with some of the things that you're trying to set yourself up with for down the road.
So I will give my parents a lot of credit in the sense of mom and dad both are very open to a lot of new ideas. This past year, even we just started doing haylage, and that's one thing that I always wanted to do and stuff, and Dad had zero desire at first. But now that we tried it, actually, he's really enjoying it as well. And I don't know. I feel like I listen to a lot more podcasts and listen to a lot more things. So I see a little bit different things, and it's not the same as we've done it for the last 25 years.
Well, and I think, what's really unique or great about how you guys handle things is you guys, you're dairymen and the cows are first, but you're also really handy in a lot of different other aspects on the farm. Talk a little bit about that.
Yes, we do a lot in the shop. We do all of our own maintenance. We do pretty much everything around here. We have to hire very little. We'll rebuild, we'll dabble with rebuilding engines. We'll just about try to take on anything in the shop. So.
And you are kind of side by side with your dad because you get up in the morning at 4:30, you guys milk, and then the rest of the day you're kind of working in the shop together, you're milking together, and that's kind of where you brew a lot of your ideas and kind of how you talk about how you want to continue to proceed the farm.
Yes, exactly. Well, me and Dad literally do everything together. We wake up at the same time, we go outside, we milk cows. Me and Dad are doing majority of the milking together, and we milk for, 2.5 hours, morning and night. So me and Dad get to spend a lot of time together to ponder ideas back and forth. And, when we work in the shop and stuff, we do all that together. And I don't know, we do everything together. yeah, we eat lunch together, supper. Everything is, 24 hours a day.
How excited are you about your future as a farmer here? And, you have that freestall barn and just some of the things that maybe in your mind you're already thinking about for down the road. How exciting is it to be landed in a career you love and to be embracing those first couple of years into that?
I am very, very, very excited for what the future holds. I mean, everything, I've been so blessed for this opportunity in the sense of not a lot of people, hardly anybody gets the opportunity to come back to a family farm. There's less and less farms out there, and even less that the parents are super gung-ho about their kids, stepping in already. Especially my dad's not in the retirement age at all yet. So that he's willing to let me come back and that we can work side by side is really amazing.
Abe, thank you so much. And good luck down the road and your future as a dairyman.
Thank you.
Read about Abe's homecoming under the headline, Adding Abe to the Team on dairystar.com. Our final conversation today is actually 2 conversations. Dairy farm kids in Wisconsin and Minnesota sit down with our reporters to talk about their recent appearances in state wrestling tournaments. We'll start in Wisconsin with Danielle Nauman and Erika Sleznikow. She won the state championship, defeating her opponent 4-3 in the championship match. The high school junior also works on a farm housing her Jersey show cattle. Let's jump into that conversation right now.
Did you did you find you were good at it, or what drove you to continue to want to compete?
I definitely wasn't good at it.
Oh, really?
It was probably just I was wrestling boys who had been wrestling for a handful of years now, and I had just started, and I wasn't quite as strong as them, and I was really just trying it out.
So you're getting your butt kicked.
I was getting my butt kicked,
but you stuck it out.
But I stuck it out. My dad kind of told me well, if you're gonna do it, you can't really quit. So, I'm glad he said that because I obviously wouldn't be here if I quit. So
then when you made it to the finals and you're looking at your opponent at state in the finals, was unbeaten this year.
Yes.
So was that did you have a little bit of a David versus Goliath moment?
So state was the second time we had wrestled this year, and the first time we wrestled it was a 5-4 match, and I was definitely really nervous going into that one, just okay. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know how she wrestles. She had been hurt, and she had come back a few tournaments before we wrestled. So I just didn't know how the match was gonna go at all. But then the second time we wrestled, I had an idea of what was gonna happen. So I think it made it a lot easier.
So what were your thoughts when it was over and you realized did you know right away were you keeping track in your head okay, I'm up here? How did it end? What was going on in your head?
So I remember we were on the edge of the mat, and I looked up and I saw the clock hit 3 seconds, and I was just at that time I knew as long as I didn't let anything happen in the last 3 seconds, it was mine and I had already won. And I just
probably the longest 3 seconds of your life.
And I had already went 1 minute and 57 seconds without letting her take me down, so I knew I could do another 3 seconds, and that's what ended up happening.
And so then when it was over, what was your emotions like?
I was definitely lost. I didn't really, I knew I was on the map, but I was spinning around in circles, and I was just oh my gosh, what just happened? Yeah, I was definitely in my own little world at that time. Just not, I knew what happened, but I was trying to comprehend what I just did.
Hard to process.
Yes.
So you didn't grow up on a farm, but you've been involved with helping on farms and dairy cattle and stuff for a long time.
Yeah.
So do you think that gave you any edge as far as strength?
I would say it definitely toughened me up.
Especially with jerseys.
Yes. Right? Honestly, I'd say just trying to work with my cows gave me a little bit of strength, pulling them around all day. Just trying to get them to work with me.
And probably some mental.
Yes, definitely.
Mental strength. What is it like being out on the mat, and are you relying, does a lot of mentality come into it along with the physicality?
Yeah, I definitely can't get in my own head, especially in big matches like my finals match. I had to stay very focused. Because if I got in my head, because I was down by points at 1 point.
Oh, okay.
And, like, if I would have let that get to me, I probably wouldn't have been able to, like, get back into the match. So, like, just staying focused kept me from, like, doing something dumb and giving up more points.
Now we'll head over to Taunton, Minnesota, where we hear from the Fear family. 4 Fear cousins helped Minneota High earn a 4th place finish at the Minnesota State Wrestling Tournament. Adam Devlemink, Brock Fear, Cale Fear, and Derek Fear all had roles in the varsity squad while working together at Fearview Dairy. And even better, they were coached by Cale's father, Chris Fear, who was also an uncle to the other 3.
What specific chores do you guys do on the farm? Cale, we'll go with you first.
I don't know, feed calves, get cows in, stuff like that.
And Brock, what do you do?
The same as Cale said, then we help with vaccinating and dehorning and moving calves, stuff like that.
Mainly calf work?
Mm-hmm. Well, field work too, obviously. All of us are in the field whatever we can to try to help speed everything up.
Adam, do you get to join in on the fun, throwing straw bales or anything?
I wouldn't say that. Depends on the time of the year when the uncles are gone. If they need help with just basic stuff around the farm. Especially during wrestling, if they ever need help and I'm not busy, I like coming out here and doing whatever needs to be done.
Kind of the relief man?
If it's needed, yes.
Yeah. So what would you guys say is your favorite part about growing up on the dairy farm?
I don't know, just like hanging out with my cousins, just having fun, basically.
Having fun on the farm?
Especially when we were younger. I mean, we were always messing around. The dads were chasing us around the yard. We'd be playing games or something, and they need help. And
there's a story here. What's the crick story?
What's the time? You'd always be doing something.
Playing tag.
Building forts, stuff like that.
Family time?
Yeah.
So, Brock, what do you think, like, a work ethic or work lesson that you learned on the farm, working on the farm, that you've used towards your wrestling or sports careers?
I would say just dependability, just showing up and being there and just kind of doing what has to get done. I mean, it really applies for wrestling. I mean, you got to show up and wrestle for the team. I feel like I definitely learned that working out here where the guys depend on you, the other guys depend on you to get the job done, and it definitely ties into wrestling really well.
Cale, is there any lessons that you've learned at wrestling that you bring towards the farm when you're working?
So nothing's ever easy. You know, everything's going to take work, and you can't just, if you give up on something, if you give up on a team or anything, it's not going to work out. You just got to keep going.
Adam, what does it mean to you to be able to wrestle with your cousins?
It's pretty cool. Kind of throughout my whole entire high school career, I've always had cousins, older cousins like Zach and Destin. They're graduated now, but just something you can just rely on them. You know that they'll be there for you if you need it, and it's just really cool.
On and off the court or field or mat?
Yep.
Cale, what does wrestling mean to you and like the challenges that you've had to overcome the last year?
It teaches you a lot about yourself, like the limits you can go to, and like when you get to those limits and you have to keep going further. It shows like your work ethic and stuff like that.
Read those stories on dairystar.com. Sleznikow is under the headline Standing Atop the Podium, and the Fear family story under the headline Fear Factor. That's Fear spelled F-I-E-R, the same way as their last name.
We'd like to thank today's sponsor, DRMS. DRMS is excited to launch the Fresh Cow Index, a new metric within the Herd HQ platform. FCI combines 25 cow-level variables from DHI test day data and CDCB genetic evaluations into one sector to evaluate transition cow performance.
Learn more at drms.org/herdhq/what-is-herdhq. Herd HQ. See what's happening in your herd.
Well, Dan, another story that our listeners can read about is that Minnesota recently held its Dairy Day at the Capitol, and our Tiffany Klopacki spoke with a few different people there. The Minnesota Milk Producers Association Executive Director, the newly elected MMPA board member, and another dairy farmer, and another board member too. In that story, they talked about their experiences and the progress they hope to have made speaking with government officials.
We also had the chance to speak with Ben Miller, the Senior Vice President of Industry Relations at Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin. With the milk market how it is, it's important to know where checkoff dollars are being sent, and Miller details some of those strategies that DFW is working through to continue to market Wisconsin dairy across the United States and around the world.
Well, this next section makes me a little hungry. I'm talking about ice cream. In our People Moving Products section, Tiffany Klopacki also spoke with Joel Andrus, owner of Up North Ice Cream Company in Alexandria, Minnesota. Andres took over the ice cream company in 2024, and it's the enjoyment his customers have as they enter his store to get themselves a well-deserved treat that gets him to smile a bit during his day-to-day.
It was nice when we got to have our meeting. Tiffany was talking about it, and she was saying that he's got 32 flavors of ice cream on deck at all times, and they're always a little bit different. That I know in the story she mentioned, I think there was a sweet corn one. I think there was a jalapeno ice cream. Like there's a whole bunch of different varieties. So you're probably going to get your base levels, your chocolate vanilla, your probably a little combo in there, a little swirl, but then he's also going to have some off the wall ones that are going to be a little interesting to try. I think dill pickle was another one she said. I don't know if I would you trust that as an ice cream?
I would try it. It certainly might not be my go-to. I'm a little more plain with the strawberry, but hey, be creative. People love, I think, trying different flavors.
For sure. I mean, I wouldn't say strawberries plain. Strawberries taking it. For me, fruit and ice cream always, it's supposed to be good, but I'm always much more of a chocolate. Like, get me more dessert, and my dessert is more my go-to. Stacy Smart, our Southeast Wisconsin reporter, also has an interesting story in this issue. She attended the Professional Dairy Producers Business Conference in Madison, attending the Positioning for Profitability session. She heard from economic and industry experts about reasons for optimism for the dairy community in 2026. Find more stories in next week's Dairy Star newspaper. Then come back to the Dairy Delivery on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts to hear more of those stories. Rate and subscribe, and if you or someone you know is interested in being featured in the Dairy Star or on Dairy Delivery, leave a comment or reach out to us on dairydelivery@dairystar.com so we continue sharing all dairy all the time.